Wait, there's a ladder there. Lewis, go back this way a little bit. Try and get caught. There's a camera there. Shit, run! He's coming.
So this went down in the last hour of the 29th of May 2021 when this YouTuber named Display decided to go on an adventure with one of his friends. See, Luis was that guy who totally lived for adrenaline and like the attention that came with it. But here's the thing, he wasn't really into doing those crazy videos solo. So when one of the fans asked to join him on these adventures, well, let's just say it didn't exactly end well for either of them. Hey friends, so glad to see you back on my channel. Let's pause the video for a sec because I want to ask you something. How often do you actually go to the dentist, and are you scared of going? Drop your answers in the comments. I'm really curious to see what you guys say. Meanwhile, go ahead and smash that like button and subscribe, and let's get started. So, it was a little after 11:30 p.m. on the 29th of May 2021 when 8-year-old YouTuber Mark Williams was heading home from Marsfield, a tiny village tucked away in the English countryside. Now, having a few friends who live around Marsfield and Arfield, I can tell you this, yeah, the area is gorgeous, but honestly, there's almost nothing to do there. That night, Mark agreed to grab a drink with a friend, Luis. Even though they hadn't been friends for long, hanging out like this had kind of become a routine for them. They agreed to meet up in the woods nearby for a bottle or two. Mark even called his Aunt Emma to let her know he was on his way home. He sounded pretty drunk on the phone, which wasn't really like him, but you know, he was on his way back and hopefully would be home safe soon. Hanging out with Luis seemed to ease Emma's worries. Luis promised he'd get Mark home safe and sound. It had been a long day for Mark, and those drinks were definitely going to wear him out. So he was probably looking forward to just getting home and crashing in bed. But here's the thing, Mark never made it home. And, well, neither did Luis. Growing up in the nearby town of Arfield, Mark was your typical teen. He loved gaming and Call of Duty, was okay with school, and had a bit of a rebellious streak. He and his brother adored their parents, but since Aunt Emma lived nearby, they often spent weekends at her place. And let me tell you, Arfield isn't exactly buzzing with stuff happening every week. There aren't any big malls or social clubs, so a lot of teens end up bored out of their minds. Of course, Mark was no exception. To fill up those boring evenings and weekends, he often got inspiration from YouTubers he watched, especially in the urban exploration scene. For those who don't know, urban exploration, or herc as some call it, is basically sneaking into abandoned or off-limits places. Honestly, I can say that when I was younger, I got a little curious about it myself. Herc is such a wild way to experience decaying or forgotten spaces and get a rush of adrenaline you rarely feel as a teen. After Mark discovered urban exploration, he and his brother decided to start their first YouTube channel, which they initially called Rooftop Legends. That's where they began posting their own videos of urban exploring or parkour, often with a little twist. And yeah, that sometimes meant running from security guards or even the cops. You could see them sneaking onto construction sites, public buildings, and even football stadiums. A lot of these videos were later taken down, pretty obvious why, but some of their early stuff is still floating around, even clips from May 2018. From the outside, it looked super risky. You're literally walking on rusty, spiked fences, hoping not to get tetanus. Plus, their actions weren't exactly socially acceptable. Honestly, it was closer to straight up antisocial behavior. But here's the thing, the cops back then weren't really worried about theft or property damage. Their main concern? Mark's safety. By 2019, Mark's brother decided to quit urban exploring for good and focus on more constructive things in his life. He wanted to become a police officer. And, well, that kind of hobby doesn't exactly scream respectable career path. But Mark, the older brother, didn't let go of the idea. He saw a chance to rebrand himself, and that's how Disple came about, sometimes called Disple 3469. It was probably his way of starting fresh. Throughout 2020, he kept posting videos in this new format, parkour and free running. But of course, that year included the lockdown, and he started uploading less frequently. At first, it wasn't clear why, but he spent his camera time talking about his free running experiences and why he loved it so much. Then, on the 1st of November 2020, Mark finally put out an update, a video titled, Disple Returns to His YouTube Channel. In it, he explained that he was trying to follow in his younger brother's footsteps and was aiming to become a community support officer after finishing school.
You're kidding me. Lag, but you know, that's normal. Anyway, the update is I've been doing some talking with Lewis. He's seeming like he wants to get back into climbing and stuff. I haven't actually done it since Christmas. I am not sure where my channel is going to go. I don't know if I'm going to keep doing these videos. I don't know if I'm going to be doing different videos or whether I'm going to stop completely. At this point in time, I don't know. I've been trained to get my SIA license. over the past couple of weeks, and I can't really risk that. But I'm not sure at the moment. I need to talk with Lewis some more, work something out. You know, I can keep doing this. I mean, Ali Law still does it. He's in his 20s. He's doing good for himself. You know, good for him. But I'm hardly an athlete. I'm hardly a pro at this kind of thing.
Although it's not clear why he ultimately got rejected, I kind of suspect it had to do with the cops in charge of hiring, thinking it wasn't the smartest move, like hiring someone who'd recently broken into a bunch of places. Yeah, that's pretty much the exact opposite of what they're looking for, right? Anyway, in that video, Mark says he's ready to jump back on YouTube with a new phone, a better camera, and even bigger ambitions than ever before. He even seemed to be thinking about just making a living off YouTube videos. And hey, that's awesome. And normally I'd be like, go for it, man. But seriously, is being a slightly edgy rule breaker and sneaking onto other people's property really the kind of reputation you want?
Alright guys, don't know if you can see me or not, but I promise you this place is coming back. I'm getting a new action cam. And I'm going to hit some serious videos. Not like the shit ones I used to do before, I mean proper ones. I'm just getting myself back in shape again. Especially during the night as well, no one can see me up here.
Just 2 weeks later, on the 14th of November 2020, Mark decided to introduce a new partner on his channel, a young guy named Lewis Ashdown. So, what can I say about Lewis? He was Mark's new friend. Initially just a fan who watched his videos, he wanted to get into urban exploration, and Mark, who was clearly feeling pretty lonely at the time, jumped at the chance to have someone to create content with. From his live streams, it was obvious that Mark was still upset about his brother leaving him and the channel. Of course, he was craving company, any company, really, because Mark was a very lonely guy. He wanted friends, and Lewis seemed like the perfect person to fill that gap. Even though they clicked, it was clear Mark still had a lot to learn about setting boundaries between himself and his friends. Loneliness made him let the wrong people into his life, a tough lesson for all of us. But Luis, at least back then, seemed trustworthy, so why not? These things take time. Even though Mark and Luis didn't really share the same schools or friend circles, Luis wasn't completely unknown to him. Like Mark, Luis had his own path after college. While Mark wanted to become a community support officer, Luis was trying to carve out his life as a chef. In the following videos, Mark introduced Luis more, and together they explored all kinds of locations: water treatment plants, city rooftops, hotels, and construction sites. During this time, it was clear Mark was doubting his channel. He got frustrated at constantly getting caught, and he daydreamed about moving away and living with his girlfriend.
I've got my life to get in order. Me and my special someone are going to try and start a life together. It's going to be a bit hard. You know, I've got all money, and really, I need to get my hands on 100 grand, and there's no way I can do that very easily. I'm not certain about this channel's future. I really hope this is not another episode where my channel disappears, and then maybe I start a new one up in a few months' time. I really hope it's not like that. I'm going to do my best. I'm really sorry, guys. I'm a mess. This country is a mess. It was a stretch just for me and my brother to get down to Eastbourne. Lewis was supposed to be coming with us, but that messed up. He's got stuff to do of his own. No hate on him. He's busy. He's got work. Merry Christmas, guys.
Whether people liked their content or not, Mark and Luis really got on a lot of people's nerves with their videos. There were guards, chefs, stable hands, pretty much anyone you can think of, and sneaking around all these places and buildings put their safety at serious risk, which, unsurprisingly, wasn't appreciated by anyone. Despite the awkward moments of conflict between them, including talks about alcohol, it was clear they genuinely enjoyed each other's company. At least most of the time, they really bonded during those adrenaline-filled moments and while making their escapes from the officers. But unfortunately, despite all the fun, this ended up being one of the last videos Mark ever filmed. With lockdown looming, barely any money, and few friends, Mark was going through a rough patch in his life. That's why he agreed to meet Luis in the woods for a few drinks. Luis promised to take his mind off a lot of stress, and since the forest was only a half-hour walk away, Mark really didn't see the downside and said yes. It wasn't until Mark arrived with his younger brother that Luis said he wasn't feeling comfortable with the situation anymore. A little later, after some convincing, he stayed behind. And that evening, Mark met up with Luis at Fawfield, by which point Luis was clearly very drunk. And I'm not talking just a little buzz. There were multiple bottles of beer, Jack Daniels, whiskey, Coke, pretty much everything. What made it worse was that Luis seemed to be pressuring Mark to drink too. When Mark said he was feeling drunk, Luis agreed and promised he'd only give him soda, but in reality, it was still some seriously strong stuff. We've all been there at some point, of course, but Mark had a curfew, so at 11:30 p.m. he called his aunt to say he was heading home. Luis stepped in, promising they'd get back safely. But as you know, that never happened. Soon after the boys left, they vanished. The police were informed that their son was missing. The next morning, authorities started searching for Mark, and the situation got more complicated when it turned out that his close friend Luis hadn't come home either. As a result, all the local police were instructed to keep an eye out for both boys. But unfortunately, no one saw them. As Sunday wore on, the investigators started to worry. Hours went by with no sign of their whereabouts. However, by sunset, a few locals reported seeing Luis at a nearby pub. So, were Mark and Luis just hiding, trying to avoid the police? I mean, they were known for dodging officers, so it's possible, while the police and search teams combed pubs and restaurants across the town, and other squads checked the surrounding lakes and woods, no one could have known that, at that moment, one of them was still out there, living as if nothing had happened. The next Monday, while all that was still going on, Luis decided to meet up with his mate Liam to play some footy and then catch a movie. Liam, who, by the way, had no idea his friend had already been reported missing, didn't notice anything off about Luis's behaviour, it seemed totally normal. The guys kicked the ball around for a bit, and later Luis asked Liam if he wanted to hang out the next evening. Liam didn't have plans, so he said yeah, only this time there was a bottle of Jack Daniels between them, that harsh, throat-burning whiskey, and they were sharing a cup. A lot of us get it. Booze and laughs make things easier to talk about. But even so, Liam wasn't ready for what Luis was about to say. "I killed him," Luis admitted. Almost like he was saying, "I dropped my keys." The lad got on my nerves. Liam froze, not sure he'd heard right. But Luis kept talking, spilling even more awful, unwanted details. His words were chillingly clear in the hush of the night. "I had a knife on me. At first I wasn't sure, but in the moment it felt right. I wanted to do it. I felt good after. Mark deserved to die. I'd thought about it before, and I finally did it." And sadly, the worst was still to come. With this crooked smile, Luis pulled out his phone and started showing Liam one gruesome video after another, each one worse than the last. Liam could barely breathe watching. Luis laughed as he played these clips for his mate, some of which lasted over an hour. In that moment, Liam suddenly realised he was chilling alone with a psychopathic killer. His whole body screamed, "Run, tell someone, anyone." But in those draining seconds, he couldn't do anything except sit there and swallow the horror. So it's no shock that Liam bolted the first chance he got. Meanwhile, the police were already closing in on Luis. They searched his house under a valid warrant and upgraded the missing person inquiry to a suspected homicide based on what they found at his place. While searching his room, officers discovered clothes soaked in blood, which tragically were later proven to belong to Mark. Reports about seeing Luis in the bloody clothes on his property had come in, but there was still no sign of Mark himself. Detectives started piecing things together. Maybe Luis was responsible. When Liam told the officers what he'd heard and seen, they realised they had to find Luis immediately. Fortunately, it didn't take long. Luis was at home, waiting for the police. When they asked him what happened, he simply said, "I wanted to kill him. I've wanted to do it for a long time." Shortly after his arrest, Mark Williams' body was found in a nearby river. The search teams discovered him among the wooded areas around Heron's Gill, just a short walk from where the guys had been drinking together. As for the trial, the court heard that Luis had stabbed Mark an unbelievable 107 times in the face, eyes, neck, head, back, genitals, chest, and right leg. After that, he pulled down Mark's pants and dumped his body in a stream before heading home. Luis claimed his actions were just self-defense, saying he only lashed out after Mark allegedly made sexual advances toward him, but the court didn't buy his story. In the end, Luis pled guilty to murder and possession of a dangerous weapon and was sentenced to 27 years for his crimes. The judge described it as one of the most brutal, merciless, and sadistic murders ever seen in court. She was clearly as outraged as everyone in the courtroom, recognizing that Mark was a valuable member of society who wanted to live a full life and help others. She also acknowledged the indescribable pain his family felt after his death. Mark touched the hearts of so many people and brightened their lives through his loving, caring, and thoughtful actions. We feel his loss every single second, and that will never change. Our hearts are broken. Perhaps the most chilling aspect of the case was Lewis's terrifying confession, which revealed that he had planned to kill Mark for some time, even though the two had only known each other for a few months. It raises the unsettling question. Maybe Lewis had plotted this before they even met. If that's true, Lewis essentially created a dark parasocial relationship with this YouTuber, pretending to be a friend just to kill him. It really highlights how important it is to be careful not just in choosing friends, but also in choosing your environment. Betraying a friend's trust is one thing, but a true psychopath chooses violence, murder, and even filming it on their phone. Anyway, those are my thoughts. I'm really curious to hear yours too, so leave them in the comments. And with that, I think it's time to wrap up this video. Before you go, I just want to sincerely thank you for sticking around until the end and being here with me. I really appreciate it. In the meantime, remember, take care of yourself, look out for each other, and of course, stay safe. Thanks, and see you next time.
Yo guys, we were just about to get to the place we're going, and oh, shoes and shit in there. I wonder if there's a dead body nearby.
It's weird, isn't it?